One of the most culturally multifaceted cities in the world, with a rich history as the capital of the Ottoman Empire, with its present metropolitan cityscape, and with the broad range of socio-economic cultures within, Istanbul has been the subject of many films. It would not be so frivolous to claim that all the movie narratives and their conflicts are mirrored from those of Istanbul's own. The city perfectly narrates the identity conflicts between the West and the East, which are happening neither just in the city nor just in the country, but in the whole world. This is why the main theme of the festival is Istanbul the Metropolitan as a narrator. Obviously, the narrations are enhanced with the use of other cinematic elements when it comes to the representation of a city and its cultures. This is why the film selection also offers a wide and detailed array of cinematic elements and specific stylistic choices that come with different genres. The differences help the construction of different locality representations of Istanbul's cityscape in the movies. Still, beneath this variety, patterns can also be observed and generic and subgeneric correlations can be figured out. It becomes crucial to decide which parts of Istanbul are embraced by which one of the broad selection of genres, and why the embodiments are important in terms of influencing viewers worldwide with an idea of Istanbul. The films are ordered through 4 comparable thematic parts. The first 3 parts are ordered in a chronological manner to see the trajectory each generic group has taken with the representation of Istanbul, a city that has a dynamic cultural timeline on its own. The last part has a reverse chronological order because the subjects of the films are only then suitable for a reflective festival ending. The festival first takes the viewer back to the 1960s and introduces the generational differences in the representation of Istanbul through one local and one foreign film. The distinct genre of French New Wave, in which the film L'Immortel is in, shows the Istanbul of foreigners. The Oriental representations fuse the excitement of entering into a culture foreign to one's own with the mysterious romance plot. The experimental nature of the genre is combined with all these factors to reveal an unrefined Istanbul. Another romance from the 1960s, Sevmek Zamanı, is one of the most experimental films out of Yeşilçam, which is the name of the Turkish genre equivalent of Hollywood's Golden Age films. The film, a cultural treasure, creates a perfect comparison to L'Immortel because its depiction of the old natural Istanbul reveals the personal loneliness faced by the peculiar lovers in the local understanding of romance in rural Istanbul. The second part is dedicated to the Western action-adventure films in the industry of Hollywood. From Russia with Love connects these 2 parts because of its iconic depiction of old Istanbul and the societal conditions of the 1960s. This film explores many sides of Istanbul's history and takes the bridge between East and West metaphor to the extent of a bridge mediating the Cold War. Most importantly, this film started a perception of Istanbul as a cosmopolitan in film. However, the 2 other Bond films, The World Is Not Enough and Skyfall, and the generic blockbuster Taken 2, do not do justice to the city. In these films, Istanbul's historical advantages are exaggerated as an altered Oriental dreamland stuck in time, and as a confusing parkour setting. The repetitive use of the historical peninsula throws away the cultural narratives. Thankfully, Inferno's justification for the use of the city and the depiction of different classes begins to fix these issues. These films are pivotal to the festival in order to see how an appropriate representation in a production ruins even some of the highest quality locations it used, even if the city is in the hands of one of the most powerful and profitable film industries in the world. Part 3 is dedicated to the movies of the new wave of Turkish directors who emerged in the late 1990s. The realistic use of cinematic elements in these films, such as using amateur actors, undecorated real locations, minimal dialogue, slow pacing, and the broad range of home interiors expands the extent of how film as a medium can represent what the city itself narrates, such as the variety of class demographics, the political struggles, the doomed love stories, and religious conflicts. The proximity to the national and urban cultures these productions possess intends to create a contrast to the Orientalist approaches of the modern Hollywood films. The last part ends the festival with 1 local and 1 global comedy film. Though comedy films are mostly not seen as cinematic masterpieces by the critics, they surely contain an immense amount of representative power to the mass audience. Kaybedenler Kulübü has a cynical account of the eponymous radio show, and it shows the connection of various demographics of people among the nihilist young adult culture of the 90s Istanbul. A Touch of Spice focuses on the separation in the Bridge of Istanbul concerning the subject of Turkey deporting Greeks away from the country in 1964, but its peaceful and nostalgic ending to the festival promises many more stories to be told in this city. Overall, this expansive and comparative range of 15 productions will fulfill the desire for a more globalized and culturally rich media scene, which can then create up-to-date and multidimensional discourses on the cultures and their retold stories.